All right, welcome to the Friday night edition of Sports Weekly. It's been another crazy week for the Houston Texans. Is it me, or is it the only news around the league? I have my fellows with me to discuss tonight. We'll discuss and give you the latest on Deshaun Watson. Hey, guess what? The Houston Texans have a new coach. Has anyone ever heard of him? We'll discuss that and plenty more. Okay, let me welcome in Irtaza Hassan and Riz Butterwalla to the show. Welcome, guys.
What's up, everyone?
All right, guys, let's jump right into this. It's been a crazy week. Let me give you a timetable. On Tuesday, word gets out around the league. NFL Network's Tom Pelissori reported the Houston Texans are setting up a second interview with Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier and the Baltimore Ravens assistant head coach David Culley. Nobody thought David Culley was going to get the job. He's never been an OC, never been a, um, you know, he's been in the league 27 years, never been an OC. So then Tuesday night, we hear that Culley's interview lasted until the night, and he stayed back in Houston. And then Wednesday was reported that the head coaching position was offered to Culley. Adam Schefter then tweets on Thursday, Deshaun Watson has officially requested a trade from the Houston Texans per league sources. He actually did that weeks ago, and the new head coaching hire, David Culley, has not and will not alter Watson's thinking. So then Friday, the Texans officially announced David Culley as the next Houston Texans, the fourth Houston Texans head coach, and he's already hired a few assistants. So guys, what do you think? Was this the right hire?
You
Um,
know, so go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Rich.
Go ahead.
So I saw I actually listened to the press conference today, Ahmed. I don't think it was. I think this is that safe hire. And, there a lot of people in the Texans organization, like today, Nick Casario and even, John McClain, the Texans official writer, were pointing to David Culley's personality and how he's a big character guy, how he's been around football for 45 years. They even said, in Vanderbilt, maybe 45 years ago, he was the first black quarterback to throw for them. A lot of nice, feel good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't a lot of that football coaching pedigree. Look, this year there were up to half a dozen names of primetime coaches that were up for openings. One of those was Eric Bieniemy. One of those was Leslie Frazier. David Culley last week, a lot of us who follow sports very closely, we didn't know his name within the context of being a coach. Um, it seems like this 5-year deal he's a transitional coach. This is going to be all about an official rebuild. Think about it, Ahmed. Let me put it to you this way. They're bringing in a coach that didn't pick his offensive coordinator, that is not picking his defensive coordinator, that at his first press conference didn't even answer his football philosophy, didn't even say, is he a run and shoot guy? Is he didn't even answer any football questions. Some NFL Network people are saying that he's almost certainly not going to finish the 5 years, and they're probably priming someone like Tim Kelly, maybe McGowan, maybe somebody else to become the eventual coach. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
We'll let's get into that. I definitely want to talk about that because I also don't think he's gonna finish the 5 years. Riz, give us a little history on David Culley. Like, where has he been? How long has he been in the league? Like, who is this guy? I think what Irtaz is saying is like this guy's a nobody. He's come out of nowhere. So, give us a little background on David Culley.
So first of all, to kind of piggyback on what Ertuzel was saying, like he's got one when they announced that they were hiring him. Like a lot of people came out and vouched for him, quote unquote. But I heard like he's loyal, he's a great character guy, he's high energy, he's a motivator, he's a guy you want to play for. But didn't hear anything about X's and O's, didn't hear about
Mm-hmm.
football philosophy, none of that stuff. So that was kind of like the first red flag for me, where you know maybe this guy is the quote unquote culture that the Texans were talking about with Easterby, where you're getting like good guys, religious Christians, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now he's a part of the Andy Reid coaching tree. He's been with Andy Reid since 1999. He started with the Eagles, and then he went with him to Kansas City, and then the last 2 years, he's been in Baltimore. He's been the Baltimore what was he, the wide receiver coach and the passing game coordinator. Now the thing with that is the Ravens were last in passing this year. Now you can say, okay, Lamar Jackson, he can't throw. Lamar Jackson is a work in progress. Lamar Jackson is running quarterback. He's still a project. Okay. Before he came to Baltimore, he was in Buffalo for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So the first year he had Tyrod Taylor, and it was Tyrod Taylor's second year in Buffalo and Culley's first year. Now Tyrod had no improvement at all. He was very stagnant. His QBR actually dropped in that time. Then Tyrod was replaced. This gets better. Tyrod gets replaced by Josh Allen.
Guys,
and Josh Allen, his first year is disastrous. He's at like a 52% completion rate. I understand he's a rookie playing, as a rookie quarterback for a rebuilding team. Okay. But I mean, I've been kind of reading up on Culley, and so there's like this meme going around about 2014, I think it was, where he was the coach
for Kansas City.
Yeah, he was the coach for Kansas City, and they went all of 2000. He was the wide receiver coach for Kansas City, and they went all of 2014 without a wide receiver catching a single touchdown.
Wow!
But so I found that I heard that when he first got hired on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. So I looked into that. So their top receiver was Dwayne Bowe. Travis Kelce had just been drafted like either that year or the year before. And then they had Jamal Charles. So Charles had 9 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 5 touchdowns. Anthony Fasano, another tight end, had 4 touchdowns. Niall Davis had 1 receiving touchdown. So they use their tight ends a lot. Alex Smith was a quarterback. But all that being said, even in Philly, where he was a wide receiver coach / assistant head coach, man, their receivers were horrible. If you remember going back to those Philly teams, their receivers were horrible.
Yeah.
So I think I don't like this hire, but he fits the Jack Easterby, Cal McNair kind of situation they're setting
you
up.
Bring up that name, and it just makes my heart sink.
Yeah. So, I mean, I honestly, I've been off of social media for the last 2 days. I've just been like incensed. I've been trying to avoid it for the most of 2 days, and then I heard about the press conference today where he said, "Oh, I wouldn't be here if Deshaun wasn't going to be here," and that's a load of crap. And that's a load of crap. Either Deshaun gets traded before the draft, which is likely, or I think he might hold out, or I don't know what's going to happen with that. But
yeah, well, let's definitely get in that. I'll just tell you guys, by David Culley becoming the Houston Texans' 4th head coach, the Ravens will receive 2 third-round compensatory picks, one in 2021 and one in 2022. And that's for getting Culley hired from their staff. And this comes from a resolution adopted back in November that meant to incentivize NFL teams to develop minority candidates for head coaching positions and general managers. Culley also becomes just one of 5 minority head coaching Pittsburgh Steelers and Ron Rivera from the Washington team. So, but my only question, guys, and something that we have Paul War, who, thanks Paul, because we're actually live right now. He said that he's a first subscriber. Thanks for listening, Paul. I just don't understand. Like, he's never been a offensive coordinator. He's never called plays. So to me, this almost seems like just a figurehead for the organization. Somebody to maybe, Grizz, go ahead.
Yes. So here's my thing, okay? Bill O'Brien's power play last year, firing Brian Gaine, and he becomes the general manager and Easterby and everything. And then he starts 0-4. Cal McNair fires him because of, basically the fans are revolting at that point. So he kind of has no choice but to fire him. But I mean, if you look at what they've done, Tim Kelly is still here. I don't know if it's to appease Deshaun or not. That might be too late. But you look at their coaches. So Mike Devlin, who's the offensive line coach for the last 6 years, he's still here. You look at Roman Cornell, he's still going to be here. The tight ends coach, he's still going to be here. So basically what they've done, or what it looks like to me, is they've gotten rid of Bill O'Brien as a figurehead, just put in this placeholder, and nothing else has changed. Everything else is exactly the same. And, I think that just to appease the fans, they fired Bill O'Brien, and they've lost Deshaun Watson in the meantime. They didn't want to appease Deshaun Watson. They wanted to appease, just keep everything in status quo. Because you remember when Kubiak was on that 2-14 season, Bob McNair didn't want to fire him. Only when the fans went crazy, they fired him.
Yeah.
The Texans don't like change. They do not like change.
Well, I would say, wasn't it even Janice McNair who actually maybe went into Cal and said, look, J.J. Watt, I believe it was J.J. Watt who came to her, and then, which started.
Yeah, they got into a fight at practice.
They got into an argument or a fight over it.
But, Ahmed, there's something I wanted to say on this really quick. Let's, we can talk about a lot of things about David Culley or even Easterby, but there's something to consider here about a culture within the Texans organization. I'm forgetting her name right now, but a couple months ago, Texans got rid of that lady vice president who was very well respected around the league. Yes.
Yeah, the PR lady.
Oh, yeah.
And she was a lady. She used to think outside the box. She was outspoken. And then, Ahmed, let's go more recent. The general manager, Korn Ferry, was the search firm that Cal McNair and them had paid big dollars to. Well, their number one candidate was Omar Khan, highly regarded by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And reportedly, there was an offer drafted to Omar Khan. It was drafted with the salary, with his bonus. And then Jack Easterby made a push 11th hour to get rid of that and scratch that. Now, I was listening to local radio today, both 610 AM, and I was listening to 97.9, which is ESPN's Houston channel. There was a number of fans calling in and saying that this is just bringing your mostly white, evangelical, certain type of mold. And basically, even, yes, David Culley is black. There's no denying that. But it's a certain type of black coach who essentially is going to come in and not really challenge the status quo. He's going to be almost like a yes man to Easterby and McNair. And that was really, really surprising. There were fans saying this on air. And I heard Lance and I heard Lopez and them on 610 were kind of saying, look, they can see where it's coming from. So I'm not saying that we have to be quick to play these race cards and stuff. You know me, Emmett, I usually don't do that.
Right.
But I'm just saying there's a pattern here. And David Culley, very surprising. And again, you've had good women in the organization. You've had a Muslim candidate. You've had other black candidates like Bieniemy and others who for some reason have not wound up on the inside. So it's troubling.
So the thing that, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to say the reason Culley was such a good hire for them is because he wouldn't want to bring in his own staff. They get to pick and choose his staff, which is a yes man. And the other thing I was going to say is, so you were talking about was it Korn Ferry was the consulting firm that they were using?
Yeah, Korn Ferry.
They had Tony Dungy a part of their little search party along with Andre Johnson and a couple other guys. So
Jimmy Jones.
Yeah, so they were on the
Jimmy Johnson, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were actually negotiating with Omar Khan from Pittsburgh, and Easterby started pushing for Caserio. So the story is that Cal McNair talked to Tony Dungy, and Tony Dungy told him, you should follow your heart and blah, blah, blah. But Tony Dungy is also one of those like really religious
Very faith based.
yeah, faith-based kind of guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but y'all were saying there's a pattern of this to where
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to change the culture to a religious cult. Like that's the reason D Hop was
Right.
created, pushed out by
Yeah.
Easterby because
Yeah.
he didn't buy
Yeah.
into the Christianity, hold my hand and pray kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
And
very
that's
dangerous.
another reason, Riz. I believe Robert Saleh
Yeah,
wasn't
it,
even given a interview here
yeah, and
because of his Muslim background,
that's why
his
Eric
Muslim
Bieniemy
faith.
wasn't at first given
Right.
an interview because he got into trouble, years back when he was a
Right. Right.
player
He
and when
had
he
some
was in
stuff way
college.
back in college. They
Yeah,
tried to,
so
you know,
so I mean
bring up something.
that's a very dangerous way to run a sports franchise because
Right.
you're putting things other than winning. Now I'm not saying you go sign someone like OJ Simpson or something like that, but you have to. I mean, you have to kind of balance it out. You're not running a
Right.
church. You're not
Guys,
running a mega church. You're running a football
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. I
we've
agree.
been Texans fans from the beginning, and I think this has been a complaint of ours every
Yeah,
year, every draft.
good character guys.
Yeah, big. We always, they always talk about this character guys, like you say. They don't have the character to play here. So, I mean, this has been an issue, like you said, from the beginning. So let
For
me just
years
tell
and
you,
years.
not only with Culley being hired, the Texans are also bringing in Lovie Smith as defensive
Yeah,
coordinator, and in a surprise move, they've hired Pep Hamilton as the quarterbacks coach. So it looks like to me, Tim Kelly is going to run the offense. But then
hmm
today I read, since the hiring of Pep Hamilton, it looks like T.J. Yates is gone, and I believe he's
he's with the
joined the Atlanta
Falcons.
Falcons.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I
and
just don't.
you remember what Quincy Avery said? He said that he had a huge improvement because of TJ
Yeah.
Yates
Yep.
being the quarter. Like, what is
Because of
going
T.J.
on?
Yates. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is another. Uh, you know, it's just another move. And you were bringing up Amy Palachek, the Houston Texans
Yeah.
VP of Communications, and that was another mind-boggling, firing during the year. She had just won, just was it the award for the
Executive of the
best?
year. Yeah.
Yeah,
executive of the year.
executive,
Yeah,
like best VP in 2019. So it's like, what happened in that
And Emmett,
one
the funny
season?
thing is, the league, top to
Yeah,
bottom, is trying to empower more women candidates. In fact,
absolutely, yes,
Emmett, the
yeah,
NFL, 45% of their viewers are women. This year, we're going to have women refereeing in the Super Bowl.
that's right.
Every
Two of
front
them.
office has
That's
one,
true.
and somehow the Texans find a way to fire a woman. I mean,
That's
it's completely going
man.
in the
What
opposite
is going
direction.
down on
Yeah.
at
and
Kirby,
they're
guys?
following that up by running off their generational quarterback. Like,
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's dive in. Okay, so now the Texans have a new head coach, the fourth head coach in franchise history. He's bringing in a staff. Now the big question in the room is this going to be good enough to keep Deshaun Watson?
no,
No.
no, zero. There's
What
zero
does that?
chance Deshaun
So
Watson plays.
I want to not only say no, as Riz said, but Ahmed, you enjoy a lot of this, the numbers and the money related to sports. I was reading a guy who writes sports and Forbes business articles, and he was saying, look,
Mm-hmm.
not only can Deshaun sit out, but he can afford it. He should, because let's say Deshaun starts sitting out. Let's say he's losing $1 million a week, $1.5 million a week, whatever it comes down to. Deshaun Watson is 25 years old and he's very likable. If he
Very.
went to a market like New York, i- the lifetime earnings in endorsements they're saying could be $225 million. If Deshaun went to New
Wow.
York and became the regional guy for many different companies, I mean, in Houston, you got HEB, you got some local deals, but
Right. Right.
imagine Deshaun going to that big market. And so there was a guy on Forbes I was reading saying that Deshaun absolutely can afford it and it's going to pay itself back 10 times over. So,
Right, right. No,
yeah,
Deshaun has always done so much in the community. Quincy Avery, his personal quarterback coach, had mentioned just how much because now you'll see a lot of people try to slander Watson because he's going to refuse to maybe play or maybe sit out, and he's taking a stance, and he has the backing of former NFL players, and
Yeah.
you
Andre
know
Johnson.
Andre Johnson. I mean, he
Yeah.
said stand your ground,
Yeah.
and so he's got the public support, which is big. It may not be concrete because the Texans still hold a lot of leverage, but let's not forget what Deshaun Watson has done. You remember during Hurricane Harvey? I mean, his rookie year, I don't even think he'd had one paycheck yet from the Houston Texans, and he had given it to the workers in the cafeteria. So I just know Deshaun Watson as being high character. He's provided 400 for 4,000 people supplies and backpacks to underprivileged kids,
Yeah.
Halloween costumes for underprivileged kids, Thanksgiving dinners to families. He's taken utilities and groceries for 1 year for 4 different families. So he's done so much in this area, and you would think the Texans would realize what a great character guy that they talk about character that they already have, and they can't keep this guy in the building.
And I got to say, you know how much we love the city of Houston and Houston football. Not even the Texans. I'm saying Houston football. So our
Hmm.
childhoods watching the Oilers, are just rooting for the city. I'm actually, not only am I supportive of Watson, like, and you see great players like Andre Johnson, the greatest Texan of all time. I'm actually kind of happy for him because Deshaun's pedigree is a winner. Clemson in high
Right.
school, and Watson could have been that guy who's like, I just got 156 million. Let me just shut up and take it. That's a lot of money in
Hmm.
Houston,
Yeah.
but
Right.
he's not happy with the culture. He's not happy. This team is not
Mm.
building a winner. This team, the front office is lying. The front office is
Yeah. And how
dealing
can you
the
blame him?
yeah,
How
the
can you blame
best
him?
wide receiver in football got dealt, and that's not a problem,
For
but
peanuts.
got dealt for nothing in return for peanuts. So you kind of almost are rooting for Watson. I do suspect that some of the fan base is going to eventually turn on him or hate him. But if you look at the bigger picture, I'm honestly happy for Deshaun. I'm supportive, and
All right.
I honestly, yeah,
I get okay, guys. As a Houston Texans fan, and this is for all the Houston Texans fans out there. Just every day you hear bad news. Is there any hope? Is there anything that can happen this offseason that you guys could say that what they could patch things up? He could come back. How can Give me a timeline of how you think that could work out?
I'll punt this one to Riz, but I am going to say in the short term, with the way the Titans are and the Colts are in the short term, I don't see any hope or any light, but maybe Riz sees it differently. I personally don't see any hope.
So my thing is this, and I was kind of looking over Twitter over the last hour or so, and there was a couple of people that were saying that this guy is Culley is such a like a magnetic personality that if there's anyone that can convince Deshaun to stay face to face, it's
Hmm.
Culley. Now, I don't think that Deshaun is going to sit down with Casario or Culley at any point.
He has yet to talk to
Any,
him. He has yet to
huh?
return a phone
Yeah, he's
call.
yet to talk to him. The only way he's going to communicate with the Texans is going to be through his agent.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I think that this I hope I'm wrong, but I think that this relationship is finished, and it's just a matter of time whether they trade him. It'll have to be before the draft, which is in March, or he's going to announce he's holding out. Now I know you were Ahmed, you were posting a bunch of trade possibilities or whatever
Right.
earlier today
And
or
those are all,
yesterday.
and you know what? A lot of those
Yeah,
trades right now, I think they're
but
public.
people yeah people
Go
people
ahead.
are just posting things up, but I saw those offers, and there is zero chance Nick Casario will make any of those deals because you're going to have to give
Right.
up way more than that to get someone like Deshaun Watson. And Casario coming from New England, he's going to make sure that do I have hope for this year? I hope, but if the
Hmm.
last 12, 13 months have shown anything about the Texans, they're absolutely clueless. They're absolutely useless, and they are slowly turning into a cult with Jack Easterby being the leader of it.
Yeah.
And what
This
ha-
is
and what happens?
Yeah.
What
this is
happens
like
with
the
most
Waco
cults?
cult, the David
Yeah,
Koresh
and what
cult.
happens to most
Oh
cults?
man,
They commit
yeah.
suicide at the end, and
Yeah.
that's what they're slowly doing is they're committing suicide.
And the worst part about it now, like we've known this for a while, right? In Houston, and I just feel like the national media is finding out about this now, and it just looks like a laughing stock. You had said something about David Mogetta, Deshaun Watson's agent. He also represents 42 other NFL players, most notably Michael Thomas, Buda Baker, Jalen Ramsey. He's actually a Texas boy out of Dallas, also went to the University of Texas, and very well-respected agent now in the league. But you're right. I think the negotiations, you could say, are the communications will probably be through him and Caserio, because Deshaun Watson doesn't look like he's returning any phone calls or any messages.
You don't have to blame
This
him.
may get really tricky this offseason, guys. We'll see what happens. I mean, as a Texans fan, we hope that it works out for the best, because what is the alternative? How many first-round picks is it going to take?
And we
Or how many
talked.
draft picks is it going to take?
We talked about this the other day. Is if you trade him for draft picks, and if it's even a halfway competent coaching staff and management team, those draft picks are all going to be, with Deshaun Watson, they're going to be 22, 23 and up.
Yeah.
Right.
Those future
Right.
first round
They'll
picks
be late
are
first round
useless.
picks.
Yeah,
They'll be no
they're
good.
useless. They're not. Unless he gets hurt, you're not going to pick in the top 10 ever, unless you're the Texans, of course. But
Yeah.
that's a whole nother
Man,
story.
that is tough news, guys. Okay, in closing, Riz, Irthas, I appreciate you guys joining me again. So I guess it's not looking good in H-Town. These guys are saying Deshaun Watson is not going to be a Houston Texan. Do you think he's going to be traded before the draft, or is it going to be? Are the Texans going to wait and maybe let this ride out through training camp?
So
I mean,
my guess is
Go
that
ahead.
it's become so toxic and just so loud. I think Nick Caserio was really professional in the press conference today, but I think they absolutely deal him, because this is just going to stay a very ugly situation. Look, Caserio's new and he's here for 6 years. David Culley has a 5-year contract, which he probably won't serve out. But I think they know they're rebuilding anyway. Why not just do a total rebuild? And Deshaun is not happy. This situation is quite ugly. I agree with Riz that you got to deal him now, so you know the picks you're getting.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. Deshaun Watson signed a 4-year deal. He's coming up on the last year of his rookie deal. So in essence, he has 5 years remaining on this contract. The NFL now has 3 years for franchise tags. So looking at the big picture, you could actually hold on to Deshaun Watson for the next 8 years if you wanted to. Yes, he could retire. Yes, he could sit out. You can fine him. I believe it was, because with Caserio's comments today saying that we have
zero interest in trading him.
interest in trading Deshaun. So, people are like, okay, doesn't look like the Texans may be trading Deshaun.
No, but he's just saying that so that if he says, yeah, we're looking to trade him, people are going to try to lowball him. You say that, we have no.
But
Yeah.
Riz, if you hold on to him through training camp and Deshaun starts missing training camp or mini camp, you can fine him $95,000 a day. If he starts missing training camp, it's $50,000 per day. And if he misses 1 week of training camp, that's $500,000, $620,000 for missing a week of training camp. If he retires, the Texans, if he says, okay, you guys, you know what, I'm going to retire, the Texans then can collect $21.6 million of that signing bonus. Does he do any of that?
So here's my thing, right? They can play hardball with Deshaun Watson up to a certain point. Okay, if you turn it into that kind of situation where you're basically forcing him to retire, or you're forcing him to fake an injury, or whatever, I don't think Deshaun would do that. I don't think that's in his character, fake an injury. But if you're doing that, which free agent in their right mind is going to want to come to the Texans?
Yeah.
Like, you're poisoning your future because of that. And you're going to have to overpay for these guys that aren't that good, like they've been doing with these cornerbacks, with these DBs, and with these linebackers and these offensive linemen. And it's going to be even worse than that. So I don't think that they're going to take it to that level. I think if Deshaun has a sit down and he talks to them, I think he'll make it clear, I'm in, I'm out, whatever. If, he also has a no trade clause. So I think they'll work something out. If their Texans are smart, again, that's a big if. They'll trade him before the draft so that I think something will be announced probably right when the draft starts. I think something will be announced. But I don't think it'll go to that point because, man, you're going to be poisoning your future when it comes to free agents, when it comes to guys trying to come over here, and it's going to be bad. And just one small thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I saw the press conference when they announced Caserio as the GM, and the first thing that Cal McNair said when he was asked a question about Easterby, he talked about the playoff game against Buffalo. He talked about packed. It was loud in there and 70,000 fans and blah blah blah. All he cares about is making money.
Yeah.
So unless Texans fans, and the Texans were saved by coronavirus, by COVID, because if this was a normal situation where there was no pandemic going on, NRG Stadium would have been empty. Like there would have been no one there, and maybe that would have woken Cal McNair up. But they were saved because of that. Because until he sees empty seats in the stadium, until that waiting list for season tickets goes down, until people start selling their PFLs, nothing is going to change.
Right.
That's all Cal McNair cares about.
Well, we'll end it on that note, guys. Thank you for joining me.
And before we sign out, I want to give a shout out to the University of Houston, number 6 right now in the AP National Basketball Poll. We got 3 Texas schools in the top 25 right now. So
that's awesome, man. That's Texas is turning into a basketball state. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining me. News ongoing with the Houston Texans, and we'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson in the offseason. Take care, guys.